The white-haired man with the ancient eyes had survived 3,000 years by trusting his instincts, and every single one of them screamed at him to cancel this date. Jorah Sylvan adjusted the cuff of his dark shirt and glanced across the rooftop observatory where tourists clustered around telescopes, pointing at constellations they'd never truly understand. He'd agreed to this meeting because his advisor, the infuriatingly meddlesome Cassian, had set it up through some modern app Jorah barely comprehended. "You need to interact with the current century," Cassian had said. "You're becoming a relic even among relics." Now Jorah wondered if relics had the right idea. "You're Jorah." He turned. The woman approaching him had dark curly hair pulled into a messy bun, glasses slightly askew, and coffee stains on her sweater that she either hadn't noticed or didn't care about. She carried a bag overflowing with textbooks and wore exhaustion like a second skin. "I am," he said. "Zara Moretti." She offered her hand. Her grip was firm despite the tremor of fatigue he could feel in her fingers. "Sorry I'm late. My lab ran over, then the subway had a situation, and I nearly forgot this was tonight, except Cassian texted me 3 times. Cassian is persistent. That's a diplomatic word for it. She smiled, and something in Jorah's chest tightened in a way he hadn't felt in centuries. "Should we grab a spot? I've never actually been here before. I keep meaning to, but I'm always either studying or sleeping, and occasionally I remember to eat." He guided her to a quieter corner of the rooftop, where the city sprawled below them in electric brilliance. The modern world had its ugly moments, but its nights had a different beauty than the ones he remembered from his mortal life. Back then, darkness had meant something. Now, it just meant more lights. Zara collapsed onto the bench with a sigh that seemed to come from her bones. "I'm not usually this much of a disaster." "That's a lie." "I'm exactly this much of a disaster, but usually I'm better at hiding it." "What are you studying?" "Neuroscience. PhD program. 3rd year, which is apparently when they break you down to see if you're serious." She pulled out her phone, squinted at it, then put it away. "I had 16 emails since I got on the subway." 16. That was 12 minutes. "You don't have to check them now." "I know, but my brain keeps insisting I do." She looked at him properly for the first time, and her eyes widened slightly. "Wow, your hair's really white. Is it natural?" "Sorry, that's rude. I have no filter when I'm tired, which is always." "It's natural," Jorah said. He'd been turned at 32 with black hair, but the centuries had leached the color from it until he'd emerged into the modern era looking like winter itself. "And you should eat something." "I had coffee?" "That's not food." "It's food adjacent," but she pulled a granola bar from her bag, examined it, then bit into it without enthusiasm. "Cassian said you're in historical preservation?" "Among other things." "That's impressively vague." She tilted her head. "Are you a spy? Art thief? Vampire?" Jorah's expression didn't change, though his pulse would have spiked if he'd had one. "Why vampire?" "The hair, the pale skin, the general tall, dark, and mysterious vibe." She gestured at him. "Also, you picked an observatory at night, which feels thematic." "I'm joking, obviously. Though, if you were a vampire, this would be a terrible way to tell me." "If I were a vampire," Jorah said carefully, "I imagine I wouldn't tell you at all." "Fair point." She finished her granola bar and looked up at the sky. Light pollution drowned most of the stars, but a few stubborn ones persisted. "Do you actually care about astronomy, or is this just a date location?" "I care about things that last," he said. "Stars seem to qualify." "They don't, though. Not really. They burn out. Everything burns out eventually." She said it without melancholy, just fact. "But I guess on a human timescale, they last long enough. And on your timescale, what lasts?" She considered this. "I don't know anymore. I used to think research, knowledge, contributing something that mattered. But lately I just feel like I'm running to stand still. Like I'll finish this degree and start the next thing and never actually arrive anywhere." "Where do you want to arrive?" "Somewhere I can sleep for more than 4 hours." She laughed, and the sound was bright and genuine and completely unexpected. "Listen to me. I'm a delight, really selling myself on this date." "You're honest," Jorah said. "That's rarer than you think. Or I'm too tired to lie." She pulled off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. When she put them back on, she focused on him with more attention. "Your turn. Tell me something honest." "I'm older than I look." "Everyone on dating apps is older than they look. Filters are a hell of a thing." "I don't use filters." Then you have excellent genetics. She paused. And you're being vague again. Is that a personality trait or a defense mechanism? Both. Efficient, she grinned, and he found himself almost smiling back. Almost. He hadn't properly smiled in decades. Okay, here's an easier question. Why did you agree to this date? Cassian insisted I needed to interact with humans more. The truth slipped out before he could stop it. Zara blinked. Interact with humans more. That's a weird way to phrase it. Are you usually surrounded by dogs, cats, accountants? Something like that. Now I'm genuinely curious about your life. She shifted on the bench, angling toward him. Do you live in the city? Below it, technically. Subway tunnels? Older construction. The Silverblood Court occupied a network of chambers and halls built into bedrock beneath Manhattan, hidden by spells and secrecy and 3,000 years of practice. It's quiet. I'm jealous. My apartment shares a wall with someone who's apparently training for a tap dancing marathon at 3 a.m. She stifled a yawn. Sorry. I promise I'm not bored. I'm just running on caffeine and desperation. When did you last sleep properly? Define properly. More than 4 hours in a bed. Then it's been a while. She said it lightly, but he could see the exhaustion pulling at her. She was pretty in a chaotic sort of way, all nervous energy and quick smiles, but underneath it she was simply tired. Tired in a way that sleep alone wouldn't fix. Tell me about your research, he said. Her face brightened immediately. Really? Most people's eyes glaze over when I start talking about neural pathways. I don't glaze easily. Okay, but stop me if I get too technical. She launched into an explanation of her work on sleep disorders and memory consolidation, her hands moving as she talked, sketching invisible diagrams in the air. Jorah listened and found himself fascinated not by the science, which he only half understood, but by her passion for it. When she spoke about her research, the exhaustion fell away. She became animated, alive, fully present in a way she hadn't been before. The thing is, she said, we spend 1/3 of our lives asleep, and we still don't really know why. We know it's essential. We know it affects everything from immune function to emotional regulation. But the actual mechanism, the reason we evolved to be unconscious and vulnerable for hours every day, that's still a mystery. Maybe some mysteries are worth keeping, spoken like someone who's never had to write a dissertation. She grinned. But I get it. There's something beautiful about not knowing. Except I really need to know because my entire degree depends on it. You'll figure it out. That's a lot of confidence in someone you just met. You're brilliant, Jorah said simply. That's obvious. She flushed, looking away. I don't feel brilliant. I feel like I'm barely holding it together. Those aren't mutually exclusive. I guess not. She was quiet for a moment, and in that silence the city hummed around them. Traffic sounds drifted up from below. Someone laughed at a telescope across the observatory. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain and concrete and humanity. Jorah watched her and felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Not attraction, though there was that. Not curiosity, though there was that too. It was something older and more dangerous, something he'd locked away when he'd taken the crown of the Silverblood Court and accepted that a king had no room for softness. Tell me a story, Zara said suddenly. What kind of story? I don't know. Something from your historical preservation work. You must have good stories if you deal with old things. He considered this. I once found a letter hidden in the walls of a building we were restoring. It was from the 1800s, a woman writing to her sister about moving to the city and how terrified she was of failing. Did she fail? No, we found records. She opened a bookshop that lasted 3 generations. I like that story, Zara smiled. I like that someone was terrified and did it anyway, and built something that lasted. Is that what you want to do? I want to sleep for a week, she said. But after that, maybe. Build something that matters. Help people who can't sleep, which is ironic since I can't sleep either. Make some kind of difference. She yawned again, wider this time. God, I'm sorry. This is so rude. You're exhausted. I'm always exhausted. It's my default state. She leaned back against the bench, and her shoulder brushed his arm. She didn't move away. Neither did he. You're easy to talk to. That's surprising. Why surprising? You're quiet, reserved. I usually word vomit all over quiet people and then die of embarrassment later. I don't mind the word vomit, she laughed, and the sound was even brighter than before, unguarded and genuine. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all week. My lab partner told me I had good pipetting technique, but I think you win. I'll treasure the victory. You have a sense of humor. I wasn't sure for a while there. She tilted her head back, looking at the sky. Do you ever feel like you're living in the wrong time? Like maybe you belonged in some other era? Frequently. Yeah? She glanced at him. When would you pick, if you could live in any time? I've found that every era has its virtues and its horrors, Jorah said carefully. The past looks romantic until you remember the lack of antibiotics. Fair. I'd pick the future. Maybe things will be less complicated then. Another yawn. Or maybe I just need to finish my degree and get 8 hours of sleep. The 8 hours might help first? Probably. She was quiet again, and this time her eyes drifted closed, just for a moment. Then she forced them open. I should probably go home. Early lab tomorrow. I can call you a car. That's okay? The subway's not far? It's past midnight. Let me call you a car. She looked at him, something soft in her expression. You're very chivalrous for a modern guy. Old habits? From your extensive history of dating? From being raised properly? By wolves, vampires, historical preservationists? My mother would have approved of the third option. He pulled out his phone, arranged the car. While he waited for confirmation, Zara shifted closer to him on the bench. Not intentionally, he thought. She was simply too tired to maintain proper boundaries. Tell me another story, she said. You should rest. I'll rest in the car. One more story. He thought for a moment. There was a king who ruled a hidden kingdom. He was very old and very lonely, though he'd never admit to the second part. He'd convinced himself that power was enough, that duty was enough. Was it? No. The word came out quieter than he'd intended. But he didn't realize that until it was too late to do anything about it. That's a sad story. Most true ones are. What happened to him? He's still figuring that out. Zara opened one eye, looking at him. Are you the king? It's a metaphor. Uh-huh, she smiled. I like you, metaphorical king. You're strange and serious, and you listen when people talk. That's rare. So is falling asleep mid-sentence? I'm not. She yawned so widely her jaw cracked. Okay, I'm close, but I'm fighting it. Why? Because you're supposed to be charming and alert on first dates. You're supposed to laugh at jokes and ask engaging questions, and definitely not use someone's shoulder as a pillow. But even as she said it, her head was dipping toward him. What if I told a joke? Jorah said. If you laugh, you'll have fulfilled at least one date requirement. You're going to tell a joke. She sounded skeptical. You. Why do historians hate mornings? I don't know. Why? Too many dawns. There was a beat of silence. Then Zara burst out laughing, the sound bright and helpless and completely genuine. That's terrible, she managed. That's the worst joke I've ever heard. Too many dawns? Really? I warned you I'd tell a joke. I didn't promise it would be good. It's so bad. She was still laughing, her whole body shaking with it, and then mid-laugh her eyes fluttered closed and she simply slumped against his shoulder, the laughter trailing off into soft, even breathing. Jorah froze. She was asleep. Completely, deeply asleep, her weight warm against his side, her breathing already steady with the rhythm of someone who'd been running on empty for too long. She trusted him enough to fall asleep on a first date with a man she barely knew. A human who'd joked about him being a vampire, a human who was now unconscious and vulnerable and curled against a creature who could kill her in seconds. Jorah looked down at her sleeping face and felt something crack open in his chest. Something he'd kept locked for centuries because kings didn't have the luxury of weakness, of wants, of quiet moments with exhausted grad students who laughed at terrible jokes and fell asleep mid-laugh. He could hear her heartbeat, smell her blood, and under that, something else. The scent of her shampoo, coffee, the granola bar she'd eaten, human things, mortal things, temporary things. He was a vampire king who'd survived wars and plagues and the fall of empires. He'd loved exactly twice in 3,000 years, and both times he'd lost them to age and time and the simple fact that humans didn't last. He'd sworn he'd never do it again. But Zara Moretti slept against his shoulder with complete trust, and Jorah Sylvan made a decision that would change everything. He would never let her go. Not to time, not to age, not to the laws of his court or the danger of his world. He'd found something rare and real and utterly impossible, and he was keeping it. He just had to figure out how. The car arrived. Jorah carefully lifted Zara, cradling her against his chest. She murmured something incoherent, but didn't wake. He carried her down to the street, placed her gently in the back seat, and gave the driver her address pulled from her bag with a quick glance at her ID. "She okay?" the driver asked. "Exhausted. She'll sleep through the ride. Make sure she gets inside safely." "You're not coming?" "I have something I need to handle." He watched the car pull away, then turned and walked toward the nearest entrance to the underground. He had a court to face and a decree to challenge, and he suspected neither would go well. The Silverblood court hadn't survived 3 millennia by being careless. Their primary law was simple. Any human who learned of their existence must be turned or silenced. No exceptions, no compromise. It had kept them hidden through inquisitions and witch hunts and the rise of technology that made secrecy harder with each passing year. And Jorah had just claimed a human who joked about him being a vampire. He descended through layers of city and stone until he reached the ancient doors carved with silver and spellwork. They opened at his approach, recognizing him as king. Inside, the court sprawled in Gothic grandeur, vaulted ceilings, carved pillars, chambers lit by witchlight, and centuries-old chandeliers. His people moved through the halls in their timeless way, beautiful and pale and proud. Cassian found him first. "How was the date?" "Complicated." "That's a start. Most of your interactions with humans are non-existent or transactional." Cassian was old, nearly as old as Jorah. With white hair he wore long and an irreverent attitude toward authority that would have gotten him killed in any other court. "Did you at least talk to her?" "I did more than that." Something in his tone made Cassian pause. "What did you do?" "I decided I'm keeping her." "Keeping her, as in I'm claiming her under my protection, as in she's mine now and I'm not letting her go." Cassian stared at him. "Jorah, she's human. I'm aware. She's mortal. Also aware. The decree, I know the decree." Jorah walked past him toward the throne room. "Summon the council. This needs to be addressed now." "You're going to tell them you've claimed a human." "Yes." "They'll invoke the turn or silence clause. I expect they will." "And you're going to do what, exactly? Turn her without consent? That's not your style. Kill her? Even less your style." Jorah stopped walking. "I'm going to offer a third option." "There is no third option. The law is clear." "Then the law needs to change." Cassian caught up to him, grabbing his arm. "Listen to yourself. You're the one who drafted that law. You're the one who insisted on it when the modern era made us vulnerable. You're the one who said no exceptions, no matter what." "I know what I said." "Then you know what happens if you try to change it now. The court will fracture. The other bloodlines will see it as weakness. You'll have challenges to your authority from every vampire with ambition and a grudge." "I'll handle it." "By fighting? By starting a war over a human girl you met tonight?" "Yes." Cassian released him, shaking his head. "She must be extraordinary." "She is." Jorah said it with complete certainty. "She fell asleep on my shoulder." Cassian. Mid-laugh. "She trusted me completely without knowing what I am. That kind of trust, that kind of openness, when was the last time anyone in this court trusted like that? We're vampires. Trust is a liability." "Then maybe that's the problem." Jorah continued toward the throne room. "Summon the council. I won't ask again." The council assembled within the hour. 7 of them, representing the major bloodlines that made up the Silverblood court. They were old and powerful and not easily impressed, and they arranged themselves in the ancient chamber with expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Jorah sat on his throne, a massive thing carved from black stone, inlaid with silver that had been mined before Rome fell. He hated the throne. It was uncomfortable and pretentious, but it served a purpose. You called an emergency session, said Lucian Nightshade, eldest of the council. His white hair fell past his shoulders and his eyes were black as ink. This is irregular. I'm claiming a human under my personal protection, Jorah said without preamble. As of tonight, Zara Moretti is mine. Any who harm her answer to me directly. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Then Meredith Ashbourne spoke. She was beautiful and cold and had been lobbying for stricter human policies for decades. You're claiming a human, a random mortal. She's not random. Does she know what you are? Not yet. Then how exactly has she violated the secrecy clause? She hasn't, but she will. I intend to tell her. The council erupted. Voices overlapped, arguments flaring. Jorah let them argue for exactly 1 minute. Then he raised his hand, and they fell silent. That was power. Not the throne, not the title. The fact that his people still obeyed. The decree is clear, Lucian said. Any human who learns of us must be turned or silenced. You wrote that law yourself, Jorah. I did. Then you know what's required. I'm not turning her against her will, and I'm not killing her. Meredith leaned forward. Then you're asking us to break our most sacred law for a human you met tonight. You're asking us to risk everything we've built on a whim. It's not a whim. Then what is it? Jorah met her eyes. It's a choice. And I'm making it. We don't make choices based on feelings, another council member said. We make them based on survival. And how are we surviving? Jorah stood. Hidden underground, avoiding humanity, pretending we're still in the dark ages. We've survived. But are we living? We're vampires, Lucian said. We're predators. Living is different for us. Is it? Or have we convinced ourselves of that because it's easier than adapting? Jorah descended from the throne, moving among the council. I'm proposing a third option. We tell her the truth. We give her full knowledge of what we are, and then we let her choose, freely, whether to keep our secret, whether to walk away, whether to join us. Her choice. Humans don't make rational choices when they learn about us, Meredith said. They panic, they run, they expose us. Some do, but not all, and we've never actually given them the chance to prove otherwise, because it's too dangerous. Everything is dangerous. Jorah faced them. Existing is dangerous, but we're not living in the Renaissance anymore. The world has changed. Maybe we need to change with it. You're asking us to gamble our survival on a single human's discretion. I'm asking you to trust my judgment. He let his power fill the room, that ancient weight of authority that came with 3,000 years and a crown. I've led this court for longer than most of you have existed. I've kept us hidden, kept us safe, kept us strong, and now I'm telling you that this matters. She matters, and I will fight for her if I have to. Lucian studied him. You'd fight your own court over a mortal. Yes, you'd risk civil war, if that's what it takes. Another long silence. Then Cassian spoke from where he'd been watching by the door. I support the king's proposal. Heads turned. Cassian shrugged. What? I've known Jorah for 2,000 years. If he says she matters, she matters. I'm willing to try something new. You've always been too progressive, Meredith said coldly. And you've always been too rigid. How's that working out? Cassian moved to stand beside Jorah. The world is changing whether we like it or not. We can change with it, or we can hide until someone with a camera and an internet connection exposes us anyway. This isn't about progress, Lucian said. It's about one human, one mortal woman who'll be dead in 60 years anyway. Jorah felt something dark and dangerous move through him. She won't be dead if she chooses to turn. And if she doesn't? If she learns about us and chooses to stay mortal, then what? You watch her age? Watch her die? And we're supposed to trust she'll keep our secret even after you're done with her? I'll never be done with her. You don't know that. You met her tonight. I know. Jorah said it with absolute certainty. I've lived long enough to recognize something real. This is real. Meredith stood. I invoke formal challenge to this proposal. The decree stands. Turn her or silence her, but do not make us vulnerable for your feelings. Second, said another council member, Jorah expected this. The challenge was formal, requiring a vote or a trial, or in extreme cases, single combat. How do you want to settle this? Give us proof, Lucian said. Tell her what you are. Let her learn the truth. And if she proves she can be trusted, if she keeps our secret and makes a choice with full knowledge, then we'll consider changing the decree. And if she runs, if she exposes us, then she's silenced and you accept responsibility for the breach. It was a trap. Jorah could see that clearly. If Zara panicked, if she told anyone, they'd kill her and use it as proof that his proposal was naive and dangerous. But it was also the only chance he had to change things. Agreed, he said. I'll tell her. You'll see that humans can be trusted. We'll see that this particular human can be trusted, Meredith corrected. Don't mistake a single exception for a new rule. One exception is how new rules start. The council dispersed, leaving Jorah alone with Cassian in the throne room. That went well, Cassian said dryly. I've had better receptions. You realize you're betting everything on a woman who doesn't even know vampires exist. I'm betting on her character. Jorah looked at his oldest friend. You met her once briefly when you set up the date. Did she seem like someone who'd panic? She seemed tired and funny and smart, but people are different when they learn about monsters. We're not monsters. To them we are, Cassian sighed. When are you going to tell her? Soon. I need to know more about her first. Make sure she's stable, safe. If I'm asking her to keep a secret this big, I need to know she can handle it. You mean you need to know she won't run the second you show your fangs? That too. Cassian clapped him on the shoulder. For what it's worth, I hope you're right. It would be nice to believe in something again. Jorah spent the next 3 days learning everything about Zara Moretti. Not through invasive means, he wasn't a stalker, but through careful observation and the kind of research that came naturally to someone who'd been gathering information for millennia. She was brilliant. Her published papers were dense and technical, but they showed a mind that made connections others missed. She worked constantly, barely sleeping, surviving on coffee and stubbornness. Her apartment was small and cluttered with textbooks. She had 2 friends she saw regularly, both fellow grad students. No family in the city. Her parents lived in Boston, and she called them every Sunday. She was also being overworked by her advisor. Jorah discovered this by watching her lab from a distance. The advisor, a man named Dr. Harrison, took credit for her ideas and piled extra work on her while his other students coasted. Zara never complained. She just worked harder. On the 4th day, Jorah called her. Hello? She sounded distracted. It's Jorah, from the observatory. A pause. Oh my God, I fell asleep on you. You did. I'm so sorry. That's literally the worst thing I could have done. I woke up in my apartment and had to piece together what happened from my very confused roommate. You were exhausted. That's not an excuse. I completely ruined the date. You didn't ruin anything. He kept his voice calm. I called because I'd like to see you again, if you're willing. Another pause, longer this time. You want to see me again after I used you as a human pillow. Vampire pillow, technically, she laughed. Oh, we're running with that joke? Okay, yes. I'd like to see you again. When? Tonight? Dinner? Somewhere quiet? Quiet sounds amazing. Text me the address? He took her to a restaurant. He owned a small place in the financial district that catered to vampires and humans who'd been carefully vetted over the years. It was glamored to look ordinary to anyone who walked by, but inside it was elegant, with private booths and staff who knew to bring wine that wasn't wine for certain customers. Zara arrived looking slightly less exhausted than before. She'd changed into a dress and her hair was down. This place is beautiful. How did you find it? I have connections. Historical preservation connections? Something like that. He guided her to a booth in the back, away from other diners. When they were settled, he said, How's your research going? It's going. Slowly. Dr. Harrison is demanding. She said it carefully, and Jorah heard what she wasn't saying. Demanding how? Just the usual grad school stuff. Long hours, high expectations. She picked up her menu, clearly wanting to change the subject. What's good here? Everything, but you should try the lamb. They ordered. The food came quickly, prepared by a chef who understood that timing mattered when the king was dining. Zara ate with obvious hunger, and Jorah found himself fascinated by such a simple human need. Can I ask you something? She said between bites. Of course. The other night you told me a story about a lonely king. Was that about you? Metaphorically. So yes? She smiled. You're lonely. I'm solitary. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, they look pretty similar. She set down her fork. You're strange, Jorah. You're formal and serious, and you talk like you walked out of a historical drama. But you're also kind. You made sure I got home safely. You didn't make fun of me for falling asleep. And you called me again even though I was a disaster. You weren't a disaster. I absolutely was. She leaned forward. But I like you. I like that you're strange. I like that you listen. I like that you tell terrible jokes and look at me like I'm not just another exhausted grad student. You're not. How do you know? You barely know me. I know enough. He met her eyes. I know you're brilliant and kind, and you work too hard because you care too much. I know you make bad jokes when you're nervous. I know you trust people even when you probably shouldn't. That's a concerning list. It's an honest one. She was quiet for a moment, studying him. What do you want from me, Jorah? Everything, he said before he could stop himself. But I'll settle for your company. That's intense for a second date. I'm an intense person. I'm starting to notice, but she was smiling. Okay, full disclosure, I like you too, more than I should for someone I just met. You make me feel, I don't know, safe, which is weird because you're basically a stranger and stranger danger is a real thing. I won't hurt you. Everyone says that. I mean it. He reached across the table, taking her hand. Her skin was warm against his cold fingers. Zara, I need to tell you something. It's going to sound insane. Her smile faded. That's not a great start. I know, but I need you to listen, really listen, and then you can decide what you want to do. You're kind of scaring me. I don't mean to. He kept his voice steady, calm. The other night you joked about me being a vampire. You said it would be a terrible way to tell you if it were true. Okay? You were right. It is a terrible way. He met her eyes. But it happens to be true. She blinked. What? I'm a vampire. I've been alive for 3,000 years. I rule a court of others like me hidden beneath the city. And I'm telling you this because I've decided you matter to me, and I don't want there to be lies between us. Zara stared at him. Then she pulled her hand back. Is this a joke? No, because it's not funny. I'm not joking. You're telling me you're actually a vampire. Blood-drinking, immortal, lives in a coffin vampire. I don't sleep in a coffin. That's a myth. But yes to the rest. She stood up. I need some air. Zara. Don't. She held up her hand. Just give me a minute. This is a lot. She walked out of the booth toward the restaurant's back exit. Jorah followed, keeping his distance. She pushed through the door into a small courtyard, and he watched as she paced, breathing hard. This is insane, she said to no one. I'm on a date with someone who thinks he's a vampire, or who's pretending to think he's a vampire, or who's actually no. No, vampires aren't real. They are, Jorah said quietly. I can prove it. How? He moved faster than human sight, crossing the courtyard in a blur to stand beside her. Her gasp echoed in the small space. Speed, he said. Strength, immortality. I don't age, I don't sicken. And yes, I need blood to survive, though I don't kill for it. We have suppliers, donors. It's all very civilized. Zara backed up until she hit the wall. This isn't happening. It is. And I'm sorry. I know this is frightening. Frightening? You just told me vampires are real and you're their king. That's beyond frightening. That's... She stopped, staring at him. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you in my life. And that means you need to know the truth. You want me in your life, your vampire life. Yes. Why? Because you fell asleep on my shoulder and trusted me completely without knowing what I was. Because you're brilliant and kind and real in a way I haven't experienced in centuries. Because I decided I'm keeping you, and that means no lies. She pressed her hands to her face. I can't process this. I can't. This is too much. I understand. Take your time. Take my time? You just upended my entire understanding of reality. I know. I'm sorry. He stayed where he was, not moving closer. But I need you to know something else. My court has a law. Any human who learns about us must be turned or silenced. I'm fighting to change that law, but right now it's still in effect. Her hands dropped. Silenced, as in killed. Yes. You're telling me I'm in danger because you told me the truth. You're in danger, Jorah said, because I refuse to let you stay ignorant. But I won't let anyone hurt you. I've claimed you under my protection. As long as you're mine, you're safe. As long as I'm yours. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. This is insane. This is completely insane. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you've basically told me I either become your vampire girlfriend or die. No. He moved closer, slowly, giving her space to retreat if she wanted. You have choices. You can walk away. You can tell the court you don't want anything to do with me or my world. I'll accept that. And then what? Your court kills me for knowing too much? I won't let that happen. I've made a deal with them. If you prove you can be trusted, if you keep our secret, they'll let you live. Let you choose. Choose what? To be turned? Eventually, if you want. Or not. That's up to you. He was close enough now to touch her, but he kept his hands at his sides. I'm not asking you to decide now. I'm just asking you to think about it. Get to know me. Get to know what we are, and then decide if this is something you can handle. Zara looked at him for a long moment. Her pulse was racing. He could hear it, fast and frightened. But she didn't run. You're serious? You're actually serious? I am. Prove it. Prove you're a vampire. He opened his mouth, letting his fangs descend. They were sharp and white and undeniable. Zara's breath hitched, but she leaned closer, examining them with the clinical interest of a scientist. Okay, she said finally. Okay, you're actually a vampire? Yes. And you've decided I'm, what? Yours? If you'll have me. She laughed again, and this time there was an edge of hysteria to it. This is the weirdest date I've ever been on, and I once went out with a guy who brought his lizard. I don't have a lizard. No, you just have fangs and a vampire court and apparently 3,000 years of baggage. She rubbed her eyes. I should run. I should run so far away from this. But you're not? No, I'm not, because apparently I'm either really brave or really stupid, and I haven't figured out which yet. She looked up at him. If I stay, if I agree to this, what does that mean? It means I protect you. It means you're part of my world, with all the danger and strangeness that comes with it. It means I'll tell you everything, teach you everything, and let you make your own choices about what you want. And if I choose to stay human, stay mortal, then I'll watch you age and do my best not to fall apart when you die. He said it simply, honestly. But those are decades away. For now, I just want to know you. Zara was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I need to think about this. I need time to process and figure out if I'm having some kind of stress-induced breakdown. That's fair. But I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, give me a few days. Let me wrap my head around the fact that vampires are real, and apparently one of them has decided I'm worth upending his entire political system for. You are worth it. You barely know me. I know enough. She shook her head, but she was almost smiling. You're very intense. Has anyone ever told you that? Frequently. I bet. She started toward the door, then paused. Jorah? Thank you for telling me, for not lying. I don't want lies between us. Good. Because if this is going to work, if I'm even going to consider this, then I need honesty. Complete honesty. No matter how weird or scary the truth is. You have my word. She nodded and walked back inside. Jorah stood in the courtyard for a long moment, processing what had just happened. She hadn't run. She hadn't screamed. She'd listened and questioned and asked for time to think. It was more than he'd hoped for. The next few days were tense. Jorah gave Zara space but stayed close enough to ensure her safety. The court was watching, waiting for her to break the secrecy, to prove that humans couldn't be trusted. She didn't. On the 5th day, she called him. I've been thinking. And I have questions. A lot of questions. Can we meet? They met at her apartment this time. It was small and cluttered exactly as he'd observed, filled with textbooks and research papers and coffee mugs in various states of fullness. Zara gestured him to the couch and sat across from him in a worn armchair. "Okay," she said. "I've processed. I've researched, which was weird because apparently vampire lore is about 60% wrong. And I've decided that either I'm having an elaborate delusion or you're telling the truth." "I'm telling the truth." "Then I need to understand what I'm getting into." She pulled out a notebook. "I made a list." "Of course you did. I'm a scientist. Lists help." She flipped it open. Question 1. Do you have to kill people to survive? "No, we have human donors who provide blood willingly. They're compensated and cared for." Question 2. Sunlight. "It burns. It won't kill me instantly, but prolonged exposure would." Question 3. Religious symbols? "Meaningless." Garlic? "Unpleasant but not harmful." Stakes through the heart? "Would kill anyone, vampire or not." She nodded, making notes. Question 4. How old are you really? 3,017 years. So you've seen basically all of human history. Most of it. That's actually really cool. She looked up. Question 5. What do you want from me? Really? Because everything is vague. Jorah considered this. I want you in my life. I want to know you, spend time with you, protect you. I want to show you my world. And eventually, if you want it, I want forever with you. But I'm willing to settle for now if that's all you can give. That's a lot of pressure. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's honest. I appreciate honest. She set down her notebook. Question 6. Do you love me? Not yet, but I will. You're very confident about that. I've lived long enough to recognize the beginning of something important. And you think this is important. I know it is. Zara was quiet for a moment. Okay. Here's where I'm at. This is insane. All of it. But I believe you. And weirdly, I'm not as terrified as I should be. Maybe that's denial. Maybe it's something else. But I want to try. I want to know you. Know your world. See if this can actually work. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. She stood up and moved to sit beside him on the couch. Rules, though. You don't lie to me. You don't make decisions for me. And if at any point I want out, you let me go. Agreed. And no turning me into a vampire without my explicit consent. Never. Good. She took his hand. So, what now? Now I show you my world. He brought her to the Silverblood Court on a quiet evening when most of the vampires were either hunting or sleeping. The entrance was hidden in an old subway station that had been closed for decades, and he guided her through the glamours and protections that kept humans from wandering in accidentally. Zara's eyes widened as they descended. This is incredible. How long has this been here? The original structure is about 800 years old. We've expanded it over time. It's beautiful. And it was. The halls were carved stone and silver, lit by witchlight that cast everything in soft white glow. The architecture was ancient and Gothic, all soaring ceilings and intricate detail. Cassian met them in the main hall. So you're the human who's turning our world upside down. That's me, Zara offered her hand. Zara Moretti, you set up our date. I did, though I expected it to result in polite conversation, not political upheaval. He shook her hand, studying her. You're handling this well. I'm compartmentalizing. I'll probably have a breakdown later. Fair. He glanced at Jorah. The council wants to meet her. Already? They're impatient and suspicious. Zara looked between them. They don't trust me. They don't trust humans in general, Cassian said. Nothing personal. That's exactly personal. You're not wrong. He gestured down the hall. Come on, let's get this over with. The throne room was exactly as imposing as Jorah remembered. The council had arranged themselves in a semicircle, and they watched Zara with expressions ranging from curious to hostile as she entered. This is Zara Moretti, Jorah said, the human I've claimed under my protection. Lucian stepped forward. You've told her what we are. Yes, and she's agreed to keep our secret. I have, Zara said. Her voice was steady. I understand what's at stake. Do you? Meredith moved closer, circling Zara like a predator. Do you understand that if you expose us even accidentally, you'll die? That we have ways of ensuring silence that make mortal death look pleasant? Meredith, Jorah warned. No. Let her speak. Zara faced the vampire. I understand the risk. I understand what you are and what you're capable of. But I also understand that Jorah is fighting to change your laws, to create a system where humans can be trusted with the truth. I want to be part of that. I want to prove it can work. Why? Because I care about him, and because the world is bigger than most people realize. If humans and vampires can coexist, can trust each other, that's worth fighting for. Pretty words, Meredith said. Let's see if they hold when you're faced with reality. Over the next few weeks, Zara became a fixture in the Silverblood court. She met other vampires, learned their history, and asked so many questions that even the most reticent among them started answering. She was curious and respectful and completely unafraid, and slowly, grudgingly, the court started to accept her. She and Jorah spent hours together. He showed her the archives where they kept records dating back millennia. He taught her the old languages he spoke. He told her stories from his mortal life, from the centuries that followed, from wars and loves and losses that shaped him. And she told him about her research, her dreams, her fears. She talked about her advisor's treatment and how it made her feel small. She talked about her family and growing up feeling like she was never quite enough. She talked about wanting to matter, to make a difference, to build something that lasted. "You matter," Jorah told her one night as they sat in his private chambers. "You've already made a difference." By dating a vampire? By being brave enough to see past the monster and find the person underneath. You're not a monster. I've done monstrous things. So have most people. That doesn't define you. She leaned against him, and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I like this. Us. I like learning about your world. I like having you in it. Your court is warming up to me, I think. Cassian told me I'm less annoying than expected. High praise from Cassian. I thought so. She was quiet for a moment. Jorah? What happens when I get old? When I'm 70 and you still look 30? I don't know, he admitted. I haven't thought that far ahead. Liar. You've thought about it. You just don't want to tell me because the answer is depressing. It's not depressing. It's just complex. Because you'll outlive me. Yes. And you're okay with that? No, but I'm willing to accept it if it means having you now. She turned to look at him. What if I chose to be turned? Eventually, I mean. Not now, but someday. His breath caught. That would be your choice. I know, but would you want me to be like you? I want you to be happy. If that means staying human, then I'll cherish every mortal year. If it means turning, then I'll spend eternity showing you everything. That's a good answer. It's the truth. She kissed him then, soft and certain, and Jorah felt something settle in his chest, something that felt like hope. The council convened again at the end of the month. This time, Zara was invited to attend. You've kept our secret, Lucian said without preamble. You've integrated into our court. You've proven yourself more trustworthy than we expected. Thank you? Don't thank me. This isn't over. He looked at Jorah. The question remains, what happens next? She's mortal, she'll age, she'll die. Are we supposed to allow human after human to learn our secrets simply because our king has feelings? No, Jorah said. We create a system, formal vetting for humans who want to know the truth. Contracts, magical bindings if necessary, but a path for those who can be trusted. Zara is proof it can work. One human isn't proof. Then we test it further, carefully, with oversight, but we try. He looked at each council member. We've hidden for 3,000 years. We've survived. But we haven't truly lived, not like we could, not like we should. Zara has shown me that. Meredith stood. I still disagree, but I won't fight you, not on this. She's proven herself, and that's more than I expected. If you want to change the law, I'll support it, on one condition. What condition? She chooses, openly, in front of the court, mortal or vampire. She decides, and we respect that decision. That's not fair, Zara said. You're asking me to decide my entire future right now. No, we're asking you to decide when you're ready, but we need to know that this relationship is real, that your choice is informed. If you choose mortality, you stay mortal and Jorah accepts that. If you choose to turn, we welcome you as one of us. But you choose. Zara looked at Jorah. He nodded slightly. It was her decision. It had always been her decision. Okay, she said. When I'm ready, I'll choose, publicly, and you'll accept it. We will, Lucian said, and in the meantime we'll draft new laws for human-vampire relations, carefully, with input from both sides. Both sides, Cassian said. I like the sound of that. The meeting adjourned. Zara walked out with Jorah, and when they were alone in the corridor, she let out a long breath. That was intense. You did well. I have to choose, eventually. Yes. What do you want me to choose? He stopped walking and turned to face her. I want you to choose what makes you happy. If that's mortality, I'll love you for every year you have. If that's immortality, I'll love you for every century. But it has to be your choice. You really mean that? I do, she smiled. You're a good man, Jorah Sylvain. Even if you are a vampire king. I'm trying. 6 months passed. Zara finished her dissertation. Jorah helped her navigate the politics of her lab, and when her advisor tried to take credit for her work, Jorah made a few carefully worded calls to university officials who owed him favors. Dr. Harrison was investigated, reprimanded, and eventually replaced. Zara defended her dissertation with honors and accepted a position at a research institute that gave her more freedom and better resources. I couldn't have done this without you, she told Jorah the night she got the job offer. You did it yourself. I just removed obstacles. By terrifying my advisor with mysterious phone calls? I have no idea what you're talking about. She laughed and kissed him. They'd gotten good at this, at being together, at balancing her mortal life with his immortal one. She still lived in her apartment, but she spent most nights in his chambers beneath the city. The court had fully accepted her, and she'd become friends with several vampires, including Cassian, who'd appointed himself her unofficial mentor. 1 year after their first date, Jorah took her back to the observatory. This feels full circle, Zara said as they climbed to the rooftop. That's the idea. They found the same bench where she'd fallen asleep, and Jorah pulled her close. The city spread below them, all light and life and noise. I've been thinking, Zara said. About? My choice, the one I promised to make. His chest tightened. And? I'm not ready to be turned. Not yet. I like being human. I like eating food and sleeping and feeling the sun, but I don't want to lose you. I don't want to age and die and leave you alone. So what do you want? I want time. A mortal lifetime, 30, 40, maybe 50 more years as human. And then, if you still want me, if we're still us, I'll turn. I'll become what you are, and we'll have forever. Jorah pulled her closer, relief flooding through him. You're sure? I'm sure. I love you, Jorah. I love who you are, what you've shown me. I love the life we're building, and I want all of it. Mortality and immortality, humanity and whatever comes next. I want it all with you. You have me, he said, for as long as you want me. Good, she kissed him, soft and certain. Because I'm planning on a very long time. They sat together as the stars emerged, faint and distant and eternal. Below them, the city hummed with life. Around them, the future stretched in both directions, mortal and immortal, human and vampire, all of it theirs. 3 months later, the Silverblood Court formally changed its laws. Humans could now petition for knowledge of vampires, could choose to be part of their world with full informed consent. It was revolutionary. It was dangerous. It was necessary. Zara stood beside Jorah as he announced the changes, and when the court voted to accept them, she felt something shift in the world, something old and rigid finally bending toward something new. You did it, she told him later. We did it, he corrected. You proved it was possible. By falling asleep on your shoulder? By trusting me when you had no reason to. By being brave enough to see past the fear. By choosing love over safety. Love is safety, she said. At least with you. Years passed. Zara's research flourished. She made breakthroughs in sleep science that won her awards and recognition. She published, she taught, she built a career that mattered. And through it all, Jorah was there, supporting her, protecting her, loving her. She aged slowly, gracefully. Gray threads appeared in her hair, lines formed around her eyes, and Jorah loved every change, every mark of time, because they were hers. I'm getting old, she told him one night when she was 53. You're perfect. I'm graying and wrinkling and my knees crack when I stand up. Still perfect, she smiled. You're biased. Completely. I think I'm ready. He knew what she meant immediately. You're sure? I've had a good human life. I've done what I wanted to do, built what I wanted to build, and now I want the next part, the forever part, with you. It's not an easy transition. I know. Cassian explained it, multiple times, in graphic detail. He would. But I'm ready. Turn me, Jorah. Make me yours. Forever. The turning took 3 days. It was painful and difficult, and Zara bore it with the same fierce determination she'd shown for everything else. When she woke on the 4th day with red eyes and white hair and strength that could break stone, she looked at Jorah and smiled. Hi. Hi, he said. How do you feel? Hungry, strong, weird, good weird. She examined her hands, pale and perfect. This is going to take some getting used to. You have time. Forever, apparently. She stood and moved to the mirror, studying her reflection. I look like I belong in your court now. You've always belonged. She turned to him. I love you. I've loved you since you told that terrible joke, and I fell asleep mid-laugh. And I'm going to love you for the next 3,000 years. Only 3,000? I'll reassess after that. He laughed and pulled her into his arms. She fit perfectly, like she'd been made for exactly this moment. Outside their chambers, the court waited to welcome their new member. Beyond that, the city hummed with mortal life, and beyond that, the world stretched in all its complexity and beauty. But here, in this moment, there was only them. Vampire King and his chosen queen, ancient immortal and newly turned. 2 people who'd found each other across impossible odds and decided to build something that lasted. Ready? Jorah asked. For everything, Zara said, and together they stepped into forever.